It's the roundup. Man, I got to get an intro ready for this so we actually have a formal intro so people know it's the roundup. So, hey, how's your weekend going, Kurt? Doing any projects in the self-isolating, quarantine world you live in now?
The weekend that feels like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, no, couple little projects, cleaning up a few things, finishing the odd puzzle, definitely on the list. So Deb definitely has a to-do jar here. So
yeah, I know. I've finished a few things that were kind of left uncompleted, like a bottle of wine, bottle of gin, bottle of vodka.
I think you were texting me after that. I could tell.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the self-isolating life has done. I've seen lots of things on the internet about the quarantine 15. It's like we're all going to gain 15 pounds. I'm going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is social distancing for Canadians. So as all these memes would say, if I could hit you with a hockey stick, and I will, you're too close.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go on a rant about this for a second. My wife and I have gone out for some walks and, trying to get out and just get some fresh air because it's spring and everything's beautiful. And the people I want to actually throttle, and maybe I'll take a hockey stick out with me, is joggers. They'll come up behind you and literally brush shoulders as they're huffing their moisture-ridden breath into the air with no concern about anyone. They jog two across a sidewalk and they don't move. They expect you to move. Meanwhile, they're blasting viral death out of their mouths, whether they know it or not. And frankly, your need to run does not trump my need for safety. Get out of the way. Have some courtesy, get on the road or do something, but stop breathing on people. 6 feet, buddy. Maybe I'm going to take a hockey stick out and show them, a little bit of how lumber works.
That would be good. I think that's perfect etiquette into this day and age. I mean, you don't need to run because you're working on gaining 15 pounds. So that's completely the opposite direction you need to go here. So why should their good health be our misfortune?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So when it comes to the world of insurance, we can go down the whole nasty thing of COVID-19 still, and we'll talk about that. But what are people learning right now and figuring out? And I think the one thing is the whole mobile office, the home office, how you serve clients, and some of the issues there that have come up. And one of the things I know that we're really struggling with for brokers is you've got people at home, you've maybe helped them boost their internet, they've taken a workstation home, whether it be a laptop or a desktop computer, and you're all up and running. People still have to make phone calls. And we've had some issues where we've talked to our team about, hey, are you okay using your personal cell phone to make a call or using your home phone? And so services like Skype, maybe, and others are things we're going to have to start looking at because not everyone wants to give out the personal information to a client. It's one thing when you're calling from the office. It's another when it's your own line and they have access to it.
100% agreed. Do you want these people texting you on a Sunday afternoon now because you happen to call them on a cell phone for work? I mean, it's different if maybe you're upper management or ownership or something like that, where you're happy to use your phone, or if you're a person who's a high skilled production person that uses a phone for work all the time. I guess the lines could be a little more blurred, but yeah, for your customer service type person who potentially may not be with that brokerage in 2 years from now, let's face it. Do they really want their cell number in the hands of all these policyholders? It's a slippery slope. I know we had a solution that was a soft phone solution for Cisco, could get loaded onto any computer, just simply slap on a headphones and a mic and you could talk to customers. Not cheap. Maybe there are soft phones out there cheaper today, but at that time, it was a 6-digit solution that at the end of the day we barely used. So,
yeah. And you wonder, is it better just to pay the $4 Skype thing per user and maybe find a deal with them so you can make calls out of Skype from your home and you have your own Skype number, which becomes your home office number. But then again, you're living with headphones on if people want to call you back. It's not an easy solution. And we are looking at the soft phone thing. We've a VoIP system that we're trying to get tied into certain people's cell phones and stuff like that, but it's certainly not easy. The other thing that's coming up is the e-signature issue. How are people going to do their business remotely? And yes, some companies have said they're going to relax on signatures. They're going to make sure, there's some sort of verification, whether you can attest to it by phone with your customer. They wanted this additional coverage. They wanted something removed. But eventually, we're going to have to do business as this extends on. And the e-signature issue is certainly not going away, and it's also not a cheap solution either. DocuSign is one company that I know we've looked at, and it works. It's nice because it can embed with your BMS. If you're an applied broker, you're probably going to have a little more success with it than maybe some of the other BMS systems. But it's not cheap. But what's the cost of mailing things? And you got to remember, not all your clients have the ability to literally print something out, scan it, or take a photo back.
I was, had the good fortune of using DocuSign recently in a couple of transactions. Worked terrific. But yes, no question, right now brokers are looking at cutting costs. And here we are, $4 for a phone line, $2 a month or $6 a month, I think it is up to, for DocuSign. There's another $10. You take that across a nicely sized brokerage with 40 or 50 staff. Those are all brand new costs that didn't exist 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it, right? They didn't exist 2 months ago. Revenue's dying. We're also talking about payment issues too. The AR. What if you're a client now and you've got your business has basically been shut, depending on where you live? Like think about gyms, healthcare facilities. No way. You've been ordered to be closed in some jurisdictions or provinces or states even. So now you don't have any revenue coming in. Maybe you paid in full last year, or you're making monthly payments and you have nothing. You've got no cash flow. You're trying to access capital. How are you going to make your insurance payments? Then what happens if you're coming near the end of your term and you're about to restart? What do you do? How do you, you now have a vacant building. You might have people doing sessions working from home. So, the other issue is are these policies for businesses? And think about insurance brokers. Does your office policy cover you for work at home extensions past 30 days or temporarily off-site? There are a lot of exposures here, and the vacant dwelling.
Bingo. I know on the phone with our property managers, they're all sending notices to tenants on behalf of landlords. A lot of those landlords aren't big multinationals. They're local guys and ladies here in the Winnipeg or throughout Canada that have, purchased real estate as an investment, and they too want to make sure their property is being tenanted for by the tenant, because the tenant in the lease says it has to be occupied, right? And so you're in breach of contract if you don't come to your place of business and check on it. So 100% big problem and not a quick fix. I mean, there are security companies that'll come out and check on them. They've got to keep a log. What is it that the underwriters are expecting? So all that new exposure, Pete, is piling up really fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, when it was 4 weeks or 14 days or 2 weeks, that's one thing. But if we get into 4 weeks, 8 weeks, now all of a sudden, even that 120-day policy auto renewal may not be enough.
No, it might not be. It's great that the emergency measures are coming in and that you can extend terms out so you don't have to renegotiate right now as long as payments are made and there is some payment forgiveness or stuff. But there are a lot of issues, and that's going to cost people money. And, we know it from where we live in terms of the heating season, right? You go away for a week at Christmas or whatever, get some sun on you. You got to make sure someone's checking on your home one every other day or something like that, depending on your company policy. Now that's going to be put into place on the commercial side where no one really had to think about it. And that's going to cost people time and money depending on how they solve that problem. The other problem that could be arising it came out of an article that you sent me a link to from Canadian Underwriter, which could be the Dental Association and something going on with them in a group plan that they have with business interruption.
Yeah, Pete, I mean, we're going to really test our policy wordings here. And in fairness to our policyholders, I think, the competitiveness of the insurance market now could potentially the soft market that we were in could potentially lead to some larger losses to be taken by our insurers as they were softening on wordings along with rates. And is it an exposure? I guess we don't know. There's going to be, people who have a different opinion, likely adjusters. But at this point, there's definitely a feeling out there that some of these group programs that had very broad wording could be picking up some type of exposure, maybe not pandemic, maybe not a peril that's not currently listed, but rather indirectly because of things like a civil order shutdown.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another thing floating around that I was alerted to on Friday by a fellow broker, not in our city, but elsewhere in the country. And they took a copy of the wordings of something, and I'd be, if there's a certain insurance company who is, if this gets out and people really go look in those wordings, they might be on the hook for something else. And we know what's going to happen. This is going to go right to the courts. It always does. It's almost like we should just fast track it. Like, just get the action right in front of a judge right now and let's go, because things are too dire to do this. But if every company gets caught like this, we're not going to have insurance. Like, there's no way they can afford to pay all of this out.
We thought we had hard market before with rates going up. Could you imagine what the industry will look like post COVID? Exactly.
Yeah. We took an already hard market and we turned the granite into diamond right now. Yeah.
Well, in addition to that, Pete, the other article I thought was interesting, and I remember this from the days that I was working, where we had brokers who would use the easy way out on claims that they think weren't covered and sent everything to the adjuster. That's a tough one, right? Because, here you are, you're either not at your desk, you're at your home, and you're making phone calls like you just described somehow. And now customers are asking you about coverage, and you think the answer is no. But you know what? For lack of argument, I'll send this to the adjuster. Well, you can imagine how many of these claims are going into our insurance companies, and our insurance companies are saying, brokers, we're paying you to speak to your clients. Manitoba, like you said before, we're in an area where we have a water issue. Over the past few decades, we learned when to say, no, you're not covered. And it took a lot of counseling with our staff to make sure those claims weren't put in, so that customers weren't given a false sense of hope. And I think this is another good example. Management in these brokerages needs to step up, have conversations with the insurers, find out what's covered, what's not, give those clear directions to the staff, and the staff have to take the tough approach to saying to clients, this is not covered.
This really comes into the crux of what you should be doing to clients. There is no better time to be transparent and having difficult conversations with clients right now. It's just out of simple situation and the duress of it all. Clients are nervous. They need to know what's available to them. And we as brokers can't provide everything. Like, it's not possible to do it right now. It was already hard before this crisis hit. But if this doesn't prompt brokers, brokerages, broker owners, producers, anyone to be really upfront and honest with clients and provide that caring value proposition, the cold hard truth, no matter how hard it is never the wrong way of going. And now could be the time that we change a little bit of our approach and talk very directly about perils, how we insure against them, and why, when we talk about these things every year to you, whether it's your business, your massive warehouse exposures that you have in 3 different provinces or states, your home, or your seasonal residence, this is why we talk about all these extra coverages, because you can't take it lightly. This is too uncertain a world.
I completely agree, Pete, that the answer could be no. But the best solution could be that your broker now points them in a direction where there is potential support through some government agency, It's, an email that's been put together by that brokerage that they could then send off to that customer with various links to all the programs that are in place that could match what the challenges that they're facing that's uninsured. So, fortunately, living in Canada, there seems to be a lot of that. Even to our American neighbors who tune into our show, we too are noticing what's going on with, trillion-dollar packages down in the U.S., some of which I'm sure is going to go back to business, small business. That would be the agent's job to, point that out, not just give the simple answer, no, and get off the phone line as quick as you can, because I don't like dealing with confrontation, so better just hang up on this customer, not maybe in all sense of the word hang up, but not keep them on the line and continue to empathize with them and look for ways to get them some solution. I think that always, to me, showed where brokers brought value.
Yeah. And, part of it is too, and we all know this and we've all done it too. Let's be honest. We passed the buck to the insurance companies and said, oh, we can blame them. They're the big evil company. And at this point, when we need our partners to work with us and stuff, we've all got to take it in a fair and equitable division of not blame, but of how do we deliver bad news? How do we talk about good news and not take all the credit and pass the buck on to someone else for the blame? That's the right way of doing things.
Sounds right. I mean, last weekend we thanked brokers and agents out there for doing a good job. Here we are today giving them a hard time. So, hey, that's going to be our reality going forward over this next period of time. So, come to Insurance Podcast where we talk about the harsh realities of an industry that's under siege. And hopefully in the near future, we'll have other topics. But for today, that is the biggest topic, is how will brokers survive through all of this for their clients?
Yeah, exactly. I just want to have one last little bit of brevity here before we sign off. And I saw this great social media post and it said, 8th day of self-isolation. And it's like Vegas in my house. We're losing money by the minute. Cocktails are acceptable at any hour and nobody knows what time it is. And I don't think truer words have ever been spoken.
And in the Tessier house, they're pouring bacon fat down the drain.
Oh, yeah.
No tomorrow. Let's face it. We all know what goes on there.
Yeah. Oh, God. And we had BLTs for brunch today. That was bad.
See.
Alrighty. Well, another roundup's come and gone, and we're supposed to keep this at 10 minutes, and now we're almost at 18, but whatever. It's good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Right on.